5 frightening forests you should never visit. Large trees, fresh air, and solitude. Forests are fantastic for a quick getaway from the stress of city living. But there are certain forests that you should be wary of, and the 5 woodlands on this list have gained a reputation for being sinister, dark, and even deadly. These are 5 frightening forests you should never visit. Number 5. Devil's Tramping Ground. Over 120 years before America gained its independence, locals have whispered that inside the pine woods of Chatham County in North Carolina lies a 15-foot wide circle where no life has ever grown. They call it the Devil's Tramping Ground. Year after year, no plant life grows within the circle. Despite being surrounded by the woods, no trees, no flowers, no anything grows here, and locals say even when plants are transplanted within, they just wilt and die. Animals also seem to sense something sinister is afoot. Dogs tuck their tails between their legs as they approach. They howl and yelp as if some mysterious force is bearing down on them. Even stranger, local folks say any item placed within the circle, no matter how big or small, mysteriously gets flung outside of its bounds by dawn. Men who thought themselves brave by spending the night camping in the circle claim to have seen or heard things during their night vigil that they can't speak of. Boy Scouts who have mistakenly pitched their tent inside the circle wake up the next day to find their tents far away from where they placed them. At least 2 men have tried to stay awake all night while within the circle, but both say they were lulled to sleep by a soft voice and melody. When they woke the next day, they also found themselves now outside of the circle. So what makes this place so mysterious? Legend has it that the devil himself walks here at night. Inside the silent dark forest, he rises and paces around in a circle, scorching the earth beneath him with his hooves. His thoughts focused on the malice and havoc that he wants to wreak upon humans. The mystery of the Devil's Tramping Ground has gone on for over a century. Generation after generation, the story is passed down. Scientists have been consulted and asked why only this particular area remains barren, but even they have no answer. The area today is popular among paranormal researchers. For the locals of Chatham, they know of the legend, and most stay far away from the circle. Of course, teenagers love to hang out there. It's unclear whether they have any stories to tell of their own, and if they have seen or felt the devil also drive them away from his sacred place. Number 4. Man finds missing person shrine. James Rankin was on a leisurely hike in October of 2016 exploring Huntington's Berkeley-Jackson County Park in New York when he came across a terrifying sight. He was walking along when something posted on the trees caught his attention. He took a closer look, and to his surprise, there were pieces of printed paper placed inside a plastic file sleeve. They had been posted on individual trees around a portion of the forest. Rankin looked closely at each one and realized they were missing persons posters. It was already a bizarre sight, but what terrified him more was when he realized every one of the posters were of real people. Suffice it to say, the find unnerved him. He decided to take out his smartphone and began recording the scene. He posted it on Facebook, and soon the video went viral, racking more than 1 million views since it was posted. Rankin showcased all the missing posters on the trees, about 25 in total, and wondered what kind of human being would do such a thing in the middle of the woods. It was as if the area was made to look like a shrine to all those missing people. He ends the video by running for his life because he said he heard voices nearby. You might think this was a hoax, one even perpetrated by Rankin himself, but once he made it out of the woods, he immediately contacted police and showed them the video. Authorities investigated the area, and after 2 days, they had closed the case because they found out who had placed the posters. According to them, a property owner in the area had put up the posters as part of a Halloween party decoration. Despite the possible explanation, Rankin isn't convinced by it. He reasons if they were indeed Halloween party decor, it's distasteful to use actual missing persons. It's troubling and completely without regard for the loved ones who are hoping these people will be found. He adds the posters and items look worn out, as if they had been hanging there and set up for a long time. He said it's possible they just said it was party decor because it was discovered close to Halloween. Some viewers have taken to explaining the possible reason for the posters. One said it was where the new Blair Witch movie was filmed, and they simply forgot to remove the props. Others said it may have been a prank. Even though the cops have moved on from the case, still plenty of questions remain unanswered. Number 3. Pine Barrens. Pine Barrens, New Jersey is dubbed as one of the most haunted forests in North America. Why? There's a couple reasons. First, it's home to the terrifying Jersey Devil. Second, there are supposedly multiple ghosts seen in the area. And third, it's a place where real-life abandoned ghost towns are found. For centuries, countless urban legends have surrounded the mysterious forest. Over time, these stories change, but the central characters remain. The story of the Jersey Devil started in the 1700s when settlers first arrived. They said a woman named Jane Leeds gave birth to her 13th child. As she was giving birth, she exclaimed in exasperation, "Let this child be the devil." And sure enough, she gave birth to a creature with a pointed tail and wings. After it attacked the family, it quickly flew away. Soon eyewitnesses began reported seeing it. In 1901, people in Bristol, Pennsylvania saw and heard the creature. One postmaster described it as looking grotesque and making an unnatural sound before disappearing into the night. Another farmer shot an animal that was killing his chickens in 1925. He showed it to more than 100 people, but not one could identify what exactly it was. Sightings of the Jersey Devil are still high even today. People who live close to the forest or go there to explore and camp report seeing winged creatures or an unidentified animal. But Pine Barrens isn't just about the Jersey Devil, it's also home to the creepiest abandoned ghost towns in the state. People have dubbed it as Ghost Forest. Remains of actual towns from the 18th and 19th century can still be seen today. They've been engulfed by the forest and left abandoned, from glass factories, paper mills, cranberry farms, brick-making places, and more. One of the most well-preserved ghost towns is that of Bastow Village. It's dubbed as the Jewel of the Pines because it's one of the best-preserved ghost towns here. One filled with iron and glass-making shops. It even made cannonballs for George Washington's army. As a result, it's no surprise ghosts are prominently seen and experienced by those who explore these woods. One famous ghost is that of a young boy said to be a victim of a hit-and-run accident. He can be seen on Burnt Mill Road in the middle of the night. People say if you drive on the road and turn off your lights, you'll find a boy running after his ball. Another spirit in the Pine Barrens is that of James Still. He was a former slave lynched to death for learning and practicing medicine. There are also reports of a blonde woman, a black dog, headless spirit, and a white stag showing up to greet wanderers in the forest. Whether you're interested to see ghost towns, hunt down a paranormal experience, or want to come face to face with the Jersey Devil himself, Pine Barrens Forest seems to be the place for you. Number 2. The Black Forest. Sitting alongside the Rhine River, you'll find a deep, dark forest with such a thick canopy of tall trees hardly any sunlight penetrates through. This area in Germany is known appropriately as the Black Forest. For many, this place has become synonymous with the evil forest you would find mentioned in haunting fairy tales. In fact, we have the Brothers Grimm to thank for that imagery, since many of their stories set in deep, dark forests take inspiration from this location. As mentioned, the woods are filled with thick, tight trees that in most areas they consistently block out the sunlight. It makes for an eerie and quiet atmosphere, so it's no surprise the forest is reportedly home to the supernatural. For instance, there's the story of the Baden nymphs. These water dwellers reside in the murky waters of Mummel Lake right beside the forest. The nymphs live together with the Mummelsea king. Legends say you should never throw rocks into the water by the forest or you'll anger the king and incur his wrath. Meanwhile, in the nearly vanished town of Volmaspur, They say a headless horseman rides out every year. Inside the forest, there's also the Eberg Castle. It's said that beautiful, charming ladies are constantly present inside it, but they can only be seen at night. There are even tales of a ghost king who abducts young girls foolish enough to wander inside the forest. As if these weren't enough, there are many stories of werewolves, witches, and even UFO sightings inside the Black Forest. Because of these stories, paranormal experts and tourists with a panache for adventure constantly explore the area. Sure, there are many quaint, charming towns nearby and plenty of hiking trails as well, but the creepy and terrifying stories remind you that maybe, just maybe, the Black Forest isn't a place you should be wandering into. Number 1. Interstate 85. For many, the trees lining one of America's busiest interstates is just like anywhere else. But what they don't know is that Interstate 85 in Atlanta, Georgia, is a hidden dumping ground for bodies. The entire 200-mile stretch of the interstate, starting at the Georgia corridor down to the tip of South Carolina, has become a dumping place for murdered and missing people. For decades, the highway and the woods along it have become the final resting place for at least 30 victims, and there's no discrimination. Men, women, and children have all been discarded on this lonely stretch, left there to be found or to rot in obscurity. Some of the lucky ones have been identified, but the majority remain as Jane and John Does. Some of the bodies were found naked, others with clothes on. Some were fresh, but most were badly decomposed. Still others are nothing more than bones only discovered when back county hikers, gold panhandlers, and developers venture into the area to do their business. Much of the area surrounding the highway is rural. There is thick vegetation and hill crests allowing criminals to cover their tracks and keep their crimes away from prying eyes. One case is that of Leslie Adams. Found in muddy, swampy waters, her bones were discovered by a woman investigating beaver dams. She spotted a shoe that she thought was hers. She picked it up and found what seemed to be a foot bone inside. She did a bit more investigating and soon found clothing, arms, and legs, a breast implant, and more bones. This was later identified to be that of Leslie Adams. Adams was reported missing in October of 2005. She was a mother, a Navy veteran, one-time bodybuilder, and a beautician. Prior to her going missing, she filed a restraining order against her ex-boyfriend Billy Cook and told her sister that if anything ever happened to her, it would be his doing. Leslie disappeared soon after. Although Cook was arrested for a separate incident and for violating the restraining order against Leslie, he was never charged for murder, and her case is still unsolved. It's also the same in the case of 18-year-old Elaine Nix. Elaine had a routine. Whenever her boyfriend paged her, she would take her car and drive to a local convenience store off Chandler Road in Gainesville and use the payphone there to call him back. She always did this. That day, however, she went to the payphone but was never seen again. When her parents looked for her, they found her car in the parking lot of the convenience store. They soon filed a missing persons report. Elaine's partially decomposed nude body was found 1 week later in the woods off the highway on September 29, 1999. So why do so many criminals choose Interstate 85? Investigators believe it's merely convenience. The highway lies just 20 miles from a downtown city. Within 20 miles, you can easily slip into a country road where a vehicle can disappear in the dense woods. Parts of the highway are slowly being developed, and police believe there could be more bodies hiding in these woods. It's only a matter of time before they are found. So there were 5 frightening forests you should never visit. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, as Robert Frost would say. But they also hold many mysteries, far beyond what we seek. If you like this video, then please remember to hit the notification bell because every Wednesday and Saturday we have new videos coming out for you to check out. Thanks for tuning in and all the positive feedback. We appreciate you all watching these videos, and we'll see you soon.